My name is Dominic Hughes, and I've been a professional actor for the past 15 years. And if you're watching this in the Soviet state of the United Kingdom, then chances are you've seen at least one of my commercials.
Sorry, it's granola. Granola.
Maria, call me. And here's me beating the shit out of Woody Harrelson with a wooden leg.
I need to get home, okay?
Too close.
No, I
Don't
should.
come
I
any
just
closer,
need to
please.
get home.
Don't you stand back, will you?
Okay.
How many times do I have to bloody tell you?
Okay, calm
I'm so
down,
sorry.
man.
It's
No,
absolutely
okay,
nothing
it's
to do
not
with
you.
you. It really has. But you're a dick, mate. I've told you once before. Now bug it off.
Give me that.
Get.
Give me that.
Oh, lovely, Woody, lovely. Come
Stop
on,
it!
get angry. That's it, lovely, mate. Well, camera, he's breaking my camera. Lovely.
Woody Allen, this is not your best.
I love acting and have done ever since I was a child, running around my parents' living room wearing an old cowboy hat, one of my mum's old handbags with a knot tied in the strap so it would fit over my shoulder, while swinging a skipping rope and singing da 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 da. I've always wanted to be an actor, and by the grace of God, I can sincerely say I've lived it. I've worked from the bottom to the top. I've been to university. I've been to drama school. I've worked in film, television, and theatre. And I've worked on projects for free. And I've also worked on multi-million-dollar projects with some of Hollywood's finest. It truly is the best job in the world. And in this video, I'm going to tell you who the three most influential actors were on me growing up. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Daniel Day-Lewis. When I was young, I used to love watching Star Wars, Rocky, Indiana Jones, Superman. My mind was a sponge when it came to anything celluloid. The stories, the fighting, the special effects, the characters, I loved them all. But it was the actors themselves that really captured my curiosity. Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Harrison Ford, Christopher Reeve. They were my favourites. Every week, my parents went to the corner shop and rented a videotape of the latest release, long before the days of Blockbuster Video and DVDs, and an age away from Netflix and Amazon Prime. And every week, I got to see Rocky Balboa knock out Clubber Lang, or Luke Skywalker face off against Darth Vader, or Superman crush the hand of General Zod. But there was one particular film that stuck out that was different from the rest. One film that booked the trend of our weekly watch, and one film that planted a seed for not only how my taste in film would evolve, but for what career path I would tread as I matured. And this film was called My Left Foot. And it was directed by Jim Sheridan, and it starred a then unknown Daniel Day-Lewis. The film is a biopic of the life of acclaimed Irish artist Christy Brown and his struggles overcoming both the grim reality of poverty in 1950s Ireland, but also of severe cerebral palsy. And Daniel Day-Lewis, an able-bodied actor, spent months in a special needs hospital in Ireland with patients with similar afflictions in preparation for the role, and would, as would become his trademark, stay in character throughout the duration of filming. His dedication to accurately portraying the physicality of Christy's condition would go a long way to helping him prize away the Academy Award for Best Actor that year from Bucky's favourite Tom Cruise in Born on the 4th of July. And Brenda Fricker, who would also win the Academy Award for her role as Christy's mother, would often feed Daniel Day-Lewis at lunchtime between shots as he sat in his wheelchair. Such was their dedication to their roles. I still remember the opening scene. Daniel Day-Lewis was so dedicated to his role that he learned to write, type, and paint with nothing but his left foot, just like the real Christy Brown. And there's just something about the transcendent mastery of art that speaks to something inside of us, that transfixes our gaze towards something miraculous. And something similar happened to me that day when I watched that opening scene way back in 1989 when I was 6 years old. There was something about the simple task of this actor playing this part with no special effects, just armed with acting mastery, putting on and playing that record with nothing but his left foot and sheer will. Something resonated that day deep down in the pit of my 6-year-old stomach. I immediately understood, without being able to articulate or verbalise, that I was watching something unique, and that there was more to acting than fighting aliens and boxing bad guys. It was the seed of the notion that the craft of acting could in fact be a transcendent art form in and of itself. Now, nothing dramatic happened that day, forgive the pun, or immediately after that. I didn't apply to drama school or even ask to undertake acting lessons. I didn't even know that that was a thing that I could do. Instead, I still watched Rocky and Star Wars and all the other blockbuster films of the days and years to come. But what it did do, it planted a tiny seed, a seed that would eventually be watered by none other than Tom Hanks. It was October 1994, and I was 12 years old. I was queuing up to see Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, a film with a 15 rating, which gave me a 50-50 chance of getting in. And at the time, I had no idea who Robert De Niro was or Kenneth Branagh, and I was far too young for Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, or Hamlet, but I did know who Frankenstein was because I loved the old Boris Karloff films. I was desperate to see it, but I stood in front of the counter and the old lady shook her head and said, "No, you're too young. You can go and watch Forrest Gump instead, though. You're old enough for that." And I was like, Forrest Gump? I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know who was in it. I thought the name sounded a bit shit. I just didn't fancy it at all, but I was already there, so I thought, well, I might as well. So I sat down, and from the moment that that feather floated down onto Tom Hanks's lap until the end, where he puts his son on the bus, and the same feather flies off, I was thoroughly engrossed. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Now, I'd always been a fan of Tom Hanks. I loved Big, I enjoyed Splash, and I really liked Turner and Hooch as well. But this Tom Hanks was different. Something had changed. Now, the thing is, around this time, I'd also watched Tom in a film called Philadelphia, where he played a gay lawyer battling AIDS. And I remember thinking of that performance when I was looking at Forrest Gump. And I remember thinking that these are two different people. Now, I wasn't a stupid kid. I considered myself quite intelligent, but this piqued my curiosity. I was puzzled. I knew that these two people were the same actor, but at the same time, they weren't. I wasn't watching Tom Hanks here. I was watching Forrest. And when I was watching Philadelphia, I was watching Andrew Beckett. So why couldn't I see Tom Hanks? What was this actor doing specifically to trick my brain into thinking that he was Andrew Beckett, Forrest Gump, or any other character for that matter? And then it hit me. As well as wearing a different costume, he was walking, talking, and interacting with people and his environment in two completely different ways. His behaviour was different. And because his behaviour was different, he looked different to us, the audience. And it was so subtle. And not only that, but Tom was transforming himself from film to film. And this was different from Arnold and Sly, where the only things that seemed to change were the surroundings of the villain. In Tom's instance, he also changed himself, and he made it look so easy. the penny dropped. Great actors transform themselves, and they do it over the course of a career. They create different people and personalities for us, the audience, to emotionally engage with. And just like the immortal line,
"Life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get."
great actors make the audience unsure about what they're gonna get. But despite being exposed to the brilliance of Daniel Day-Lewis and Tom Hanks, I still wasn't quite sold on the acting thing. I was still harbouring delusions of playing football, strangely, as a matter of fact. Acting was in the dark recesses of my mind, and instead of reenacting scenes from my favourite films at home, I was now 16 years old and running around a football pitch, wearing the number 7 on my back, with white Predator boots, floppy blonde hair, blowing in the wind, and I didn't even see the irony at the time. But that all changed when one evening I was sat with my mum watching The Godfather Part 3. Part 3, you ask? Yes, Part 3. Of all the Godfather films, 3 was the first one that I ever watched, and I remember thinking it was really good. I thought Andy Garcia was amazing, cool as fuck. It was showing on TCM, and I was enthralled, and my mum incredulously stated, well, if you like this one, you should see the first 2. Well, okay then. I was game. I asked Father Christmas that year for VHS copies of Part 1 and Part 2. I was a good boy that year, so Santa obliged, and on Christmas morning, I remember waking up and tearing open 2 rectangular boxes to reveal the front covers of Parts 1 and 2. Marlon Brando on one, stroking a cat, had no idea who he was at the time, and Al Pacino's Cold Glare on the other. We had our Christmas dinner, and then we sat down to watch Part 1 that afternoon. Parents on the sofa, and me sat on the floor. And I'll tell you, I've never sat as still for as long in my life. I was enthralled, and it was because of Pacino. He was mesmerizing. He was cool as fuck. He was a star. This was the perfect amalgamation of an amazing top-level film with a top-level star who also happens to be a top-level actor. Now, there's the thought that in Hollywood there are actors and movie stars, and everyone falls into one bracket or the other. Seldom do you get someone who is both. And the ones who are both are the true legends of Hollywood. And Al Pacino was just that. And what it was with Al, for me, was his eyes. He didn't have to say anything. You just had to look into the abyss of his pupils and you were sucked in. Now, critics usually point to the scene in the cafe in Part 1 where he murders Sollozzo and the police captain in cold blood, where his inner conflict between good and evil pours out through his eyes in the lead up to him pulling the trigger. But for me, the best example of this comes in Part 2, where Kay, his wife, confesses a dark truth. Now watch the transformation from exhaustion to rage, all told with his eyes.
It wasn't a miscarriage. It was an abortion. An abortion, Michael. Just like our marriage is an abortion. Something that's unholy and evil. I didn't want your son, Michael. I wouldn't bring another one of your sons into this world. It was an abortion, Michael. It was a son, and I had it killed because this must all end. I know now that it's over. I knew it then. There would be no way, Michael. No way you could ever forgive me. Not with this Sicilian thing that's been going on for 2,000 years.
I was in after that. Done. Course corrected. The ship was turning. Acting would be my destiny. My life would gradually change. I'd pore over The Godfather, often sipping red wine as I did so. I would be obsessed with different actors. I'd go through phases of watching Brad Pitt's films, Matt Damon's, Laurence Olivier. I would engross myself in Inside the Actors Studio. I would choose theatre studies for A-levels. I would join a local theatre company. I would go to university to study drama. I would eventually go to drama school in London and become professional. All because I was enticed by 3 amazing performers. Sir Daniel Day-Lewis, teaching me that acting could be a transcendent art form in and of itself. Tom Hanks for showing me that one must transform into the characters and do so over the course of a career in different bodies of work. And finally, Al Pacino for showing me that acting could be cool as fuck. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tell me, who are your favourite actors and why? You don't have to be an actor to answer, but if you are, who inspires you? But thanks for watching.